I got a couple of things for Reggie's Corner.
All right.
And I do apologize that Reggie's Corner is getting to be a popular thing, and there are tons of submissions, and I've recently printed out a bunch of emails. I'm trying to go through things. I want to give our furry and or feline friends, their proper due, and they're part of the family, and I don't want to get behind, but at the same time, especially on these big shows, we don't want to go into 15 minutes of deceased family members and bring everybody down. But I do want to, just a couple things here.
And this week's Reggie's Corner is brought to you by Trish Stratus versus Becky Lynch at Night of Champions.
Oh, woof, woof.
Woof, woof, bitch.
Woof, woof.
Hey, I'll save it for later.
Yeah, save it for later. Jesus. At least she'd show some emotion if she barked like a dog. Anyway, David from Evanston, Illinois, wrote in. He lost his beagle Lucy, who was 13 years old. And he says she would melt the heart of anyone who met her, and her love will never be forgotten. And I can just see a cute little 13-year-old beagle named Lucy. But we're sorry to hear about that, David. And also, Chris in Cincinnati he said, I know Reggie's Corner is mostly about dogs, but we lost our cat Solo in an accident a few weeks ago. And Chris says he was our grumpy old man. You would have gotten along great with him, Jim. Supposedly that's an aspersion cast on my character, but we miss Solo. We're sorry to hear about that. Chris in Cincinnati. And
Solo.
Oh, for heaven's sake. Are you meaning to tell me
Solo
that you think that he
had
should
to
adopt?
go.
Oh, now, come on. Solo didn't have to go. You're saying that you think Chris in Cincinnati should adopt a new cat and name it Comerato.
Well,
and or a Go-Go.
Or a Go-Go. I think a Go-Go is actually a fun name for a cat.
Solo and a Go-Go.
It's a great way to meet women. Hey, what's the name? Well, I guess you don't bring cats to the park. I was like, what's the name of your cat on that leash there? That's a Go-Go.
How often do you walk a cat on a leash at the park, Brian? That's something to see every day. Well, look, there's a group over there in the park walking their cats, 6 people and a woman.
Well, like I said, it's a great way to meet a woman because no one else is doing it. Look at this guy with the cat on the leash. If it's a little cat, it's even better because they're cute. Before they become evil and condescending.
That's a little pussy is certainly a way to cheer up your day.
What was the line you gave Mick Foley with the boots to cat angle about a little pussy?
That's not the first time that a little pussy has. Oh, God damn it! Now you've scared it out of me. Of something like it's not the first time a little pussy has drawn a man's mind astray or distracted him or something like that. But anyway, we've passed the pussy now, and we're here to another member of the animal species. This is from Colby. And Colby writes, after hearing Jim's anti-spider rant, I was curious if my pet weasel would be acceptable to cross the Rainbow Bridge. He was named Angus after the AC/DC guitarist, but we called him Mr. PPV because of his cocky attitude and selfishness with any and all food. We had to keep him in his pen when guests came over, especially if there was food out, because he thought nothing of climbing up your leg and snatching the food out of your hand. For family, we were used to it, but after he did it to my wife's unsuspecting friend, nearly giving her a heart attack, we decided it was for the best. Angus was with us for only a little over 3.5 years, which is pretty good for a weasel, and he passed in his sleep. I have a feeling that Jim would have liked Mr. PPV way more than Shawn Michaels. Well, Colby, we're sorry to hear about Angus, a.k.a. Mr. PPV, but weasels are acceptable, yes, because they are furry too. They are our furry friends.
But they only live a few years. I didn't know that.
Well, it's hard being a weasel.
Well, you would know.
There's a lot of strain. Hey, what are you about to come on now?
Well, you were friends with Weasel Dooley. You would know.
Well, but he's still alive. So he wasn't full-blooded. Anyway, and lastly, this is to both of us from Sean in British Columbia. Hi, Jim. Actually, I'm going to address Brian first. And I guess I got to preface and back up. Remember when we were talking, we had a conversation a few weeks ago on the program, and you were indicating that frogs drown in your swimming pool. I can't remember exactly how it came up. What did cause that conversation?
I think we were talking about animals because it was Reggie's corner. And
yep. And then you asked me about frogs. I used to fucking catch frogs when I was a kid, but frog, they give you warts and they're not personable creatures. And they're not really pets that you can have. They just kind of independently do their own thing, right? But you drown the frogs in your pool.
No, they independently do their own thing, like jumping into a pool filled with chlorine, drink it, can't find a way out, and then drown.
Okay, well, that's basically what you said. And so Sean in British Columbia says, I'm going to address Brian first. On behalf of frogs, fuck you and cover up your pool.
Is he a frog? Fuck you. On behalf of frogs?
On behalf of frogs. That's what he said, not on behalf of my fellow frogs, but just on behalf of frogs. So he's not claiming to be a member of the frog fraternity.
Community.
No, it would be a fraternity rather than a community. But anyway, he continues back to me, to Jim. That's me. What did frogs ever do to you, Sean says to me, Jim? You loved them so as a kid, but at what point did such a thing change? What did frogs ever do to cause the shift in your sentiment? They're wonderful little things, valuable members of the ecosystem. Perhaps have a conversation with BetterHelp to discover what caused you to turn on frogs, and you will find yourself with an abundance of love in their presence.
Wow, I thought he was hard on me.
I still don't like frogs as much as I like furry friends, felines, and other, even weasels, along with, you know, your chinchillas and your fucking gerbils and your little rats and your mice and your squirrels and your possums, not your raccoons.
You like rodents. It's weird. You like rodents.
Well, but they're not your wild, in the wild rodents that have been, their psyches have been damaged by living in the wild, but the domesticated rodent is a very kind and loyal pet and affectionate.
And by the way, after feedback about the frog segment, I guess last week on Reggie's Corner, I did hear from a few listeners and a few recommendations. I bought like a little frog ramp, which apparently is supposed to help them have something to hop on, to hop out. And I may have to...
Wait, what? You have purchased and put in your pool a frog ramp to assist the frogs in escaping from your pool if they fall in and drink the chlorine?
I have purchased and handed off to Suzanne, because I have things to do, a froggy ramp that is supposed to be there at the edge of the pool so that the frogs can easily jump in. Anyone could jump in. It's the jumping out that's a problem. Because
motherfucker, any motherfucker can jump on me, but see how you fare trying to jump off.
Exactly. And if there's chlorine, you're dead. So these frogs, if they're on the far side of the pool, there's no way to get out. This will be their way to get out.
Well, now, do you have a sign that's printed in frog language of which is the shallow end and which is the deep end, so that they'll know which? Because they don't really know how to. Well, I guess either end would be over their heads, wouldn't it? Unless it was a pretty goddamn big frog.
So you know what the other problem is? When they die, some of them, they turn upside down and their bellies are like the same shade as the bottom of the pool.
And then you could jump right in and your mouth could fucking go right onto a frog genital and you'd never know it.
Well, that's not been a problem.
Right up there with the legs spread and exposed for the whole world to see. You've got frog porn in your backyard. The children from the neighborhood are walking around looking at these frogs with their legs splayed out, exposing their private parts.
I would say you're making all this kind of stuff up, but you probably have some videos from Germany or something about this. But no, the frogs, and then the vacuum, if we don't see it and get it out, the vacuum gets it, and then there's just frog guts and shit.
But what is your frog ramp made out of?
I don't know. I gave it to Suzanne. I got to double check that.
What, you didn't open the box? I mean, is it a plastic? Is it wood? Does it go with the ambiance of your pool? Is it decorative? You live in a high-dollar neighborhood. Is there a homeowners association guideline for the froggy ramp? You could be out of fucking code there, fella.
I went to Amazon. It was like $16. I bought it. It came. I said, here, put it down there. When we have people over, like we'll be having nonstop this Memorial Day weekend, take it out. They don't have to see it there. You don't have to leave it there all the time.
No, it's got to be inspected, passed by the city. The homeowners association has to bless this thing. If I were you, you could be in a lot of trouble here. No. If I were you, I would not be making any unauthorized modifications to your swimming pool until after you've talked to the city council over there in Teterboro. Anyway.
Is this Reggie's Corner? Are we done? Or
no, we're done. We're done now. Thank you all for writing a more expanded Reggie's Corner next week when we don't have so many other fucking miserable things to talk about, like the mistakes that all these wrestling promotions are making.